This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Monday, the 26th day of April in the year 2021. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking tonight. Chief Justice Roxanne George this morning dismissed the election petition case, which was filed by two supporters of the opposition APNU-AFC, who were hoping for the results of the elections to be vitiated. The petition challenged the constitutionality of Order 60, which was created by the Elections Commission and paved the way for the recount of votes before a final declaration. In her ruling, the Chief Justice explained that the Guyana Elections Commission has the responsibility to independently supervise elections and can issue instructions and take actions as necessary when matters relating to the conduct of the elections arise. She pointed out that Order 60 is not unconstitutional because it was created to resolve a dispute, further explaining that if there was no dispute in relation to the conduct of the elections, Order 60 would then be ultra-vires.
Thus, I've concluded that Order 60 is not ultra-vires to the Constitution or Section 22. A combination of Article 162(1)(b) and Section 22 conferred a power on GCOM to issue this order if GCOM considered it necessary or expedient to ensure impartiality, fairness, and compliance on the part of persons exercising powers or performing duties on its behalf as regards the election process and the declaration of the results of the election.
It is the view of the Chief Justice that Order 60, as promulgated under Section 22(1), can be construed as simply modifying the Representation of the People's Act to provide a mechanism that allows for the recount to be conducted by expanding the recount provisions in the Act. She said it simply sets out a procedure for the recount of ballots, a power that GCOM possesses under the provision of the RPA. The Chief Justice said the Elections Commission did not amend any elections legislation with the issuing of the order, but merely supported existing legislations.
So in issuing Order 60, GCOM did not purport to amend any legislation. If, for whatever reason, any person exercising powers or performing duties pursuant to Article 162(1)(b) goes rogue, so to speak, and does not follow the required provisions of the RPA and the directions of GCOM, it cannot be that GCOM must await the results they provide. Must accept the results they provide and await the outcome of an election petition.
Chief Justice George said the Elections Commission had an obligation to complete the elections process and had to address difficulties to complete the process satisfactorily.
GCOM is meant to be and has to be in control of the process until satisfactorily completed. This is the ultimate power the GCOM has pursuant to Article 162.
The Chief Justice has also ordered that the statements of poll and statements of recount that were lodged at the Supreme Court remain there until all appeals in the case are exhausted. The dismissal of the petition came as supporters of the APNU-AFC were gathered outside the courthouse, although the ruling was handed down virtually. The supporters marched off in protest at the conclusion of the decision by the Chief Justice. Two election petition cases were filed in the aftermath of last year's elections. The first one was thrown out by the Chief Justice over improper service. More news coming up in just a moment.
Guyana, we've been through it all.
But as a people we have
weathered every storm
and risen to every challenge.
Because it is the people of Guyana
that gives it its strength.
all the people,
regardless of race,
class, or religion.
We are one people, one strength.
And now is our time. A time to rise. Together, we rise.
At Sosh Financial, we create strategies for strengthening business and personal finances while helping our clients to build sustainable wealth. Our financial and business consultancy services are uniquely tailored to ensure every client receives quality packages and optimal results. Our financial services include financial reporting and analysis, financial status assessment, internal audits, bookkeeping and records management, financial planning advice, tax returns. Our business advisory services are related to business plans, business startups, operational improvement, business management, document preparation, procedures development, efficient marketing. Call or WhatsApp us today for your free consultation on telephone number 592-665-6045. Sosh Financial, strengthening businesses, building wealth.
Mobil 1 is more than oil. It's many oils. it transforms at the molecular level. When cold, it's thicker than honey. When hot, it's thinner than water. Mobil 1 adapts and readapts to last longer. 16,000 kilometers between oil changes. That's your engine evolved.
Sol Guyana is the authorized distributor of Mobil lubricants.
You taste the cheese, you hear the crunch. Grab a zoomers and zoom into fun. And with the first taste, you feel like you don't want it done. Blast off to a whole new place with every single bite. The cheesy goodness bring your taste buds alive. So let's just zoom into fun with this wheel-shaped light. Zoomers, zoomers, zoom into fun.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right, walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong, be the one to live right.
Mom, what are you doing with GPL on your list?
Child, you forgot I have to pay GPL?
You got time with GPL?
I have to keep these lights on. The customers who think in that manner and refuse to honor their obligation to GPL are obviously not playing their part in ensuring quality service delivery. So, I will continue to pay my GPL bill on time, every time.
I recognize the value of your point, Mom. You were right.
Welcome back. A disappointed and upset opposition leader Joe Harmon this afternoon lashed out at the decision of the Chief Justice to dismiss the election petition case. He said it was an atrocious ruling. In a statement, Mr. Harmon said the ruling stabbed democracy in the heart, and therefore an appeal will be filed.
Many of you previously expressed doubt and concern that the court will rule in our favor. Given the pattern of its ruling in election cases recently, we continue to advise that the judicial system will have to rule in accordance with law. I have myself urged that if we do not have a court whose decisions are sound in law, fair in its application of justice, and perceived as impartial by the society, that critical elements which hold us together as a nation will lose its credibility.
The opposition leader said the Chief Justice's decision has left him feeling disappointed and let down, but he's hopeful that the appeal will be successful.
This is a clear attempt to protect the installed PPP regime from scrutiny and from being removed from government where they have no right in being. The elections of March 2020 were flawed and fraudulent. The world knows this. The world has seen this. There was clear fraud. We saw that as plain as day when the boxes were opened. Missing poll documents, dead people voting, people outside of Guyana voting, people with no identity, oath of identity voting. So today when we expected that the legal basis upon which the PPP regime was installed would have been swept away and the laws of Guyana being stringently and robustly upheld, we have been disappointed again by the decision of our judiciary.
He also said the decision by the Chief Justice was not one about justice or democracy. While offering thanks to the legal team that represented the two APNU-AFC supporters in the matter, Mr. Harmon encouraged supporters not to lose hope. Chief Justice Roxanne George dismissed the elections petition this morning. The petition challenged Order 60, which paved the way for the recount of votes before the final declaration. The creation of the order came out of an agreement between the then President David Granger of the APNU-AFC and the then opposition leader Bharat Jagdeo of the PPP. On the other side, Attorney General Senior Counsel Anil Nandlal has welcomed the decision of Chief Justice Roxanne George to dismiss the petition, which sought to vitiate the results of last year's elections. In a statement, Mr. Nandlal said the ruling by the Chief Justice was sound and in keeping with the law.
This decision ought not to surprise any fair-minded person. This decision confirmed what all of us witnessed and was part of. All of us are aware of the difficulties that were attendant to the tabulation of the results for Region Number 4 by the use of Mingo, the returning officer, of a spreadsheet as the basis of tabulation, as opposed to the statements of poll. Up to now, the APNU-AFC has refused and is refusing to disclose to the public and to the world their statements of poll, which they claim that they have won the elections upon.
The Attorney General said everyone was present for the recount and saw the ballots that were counted on elections night, and that he believes cemented the PP Civic's victory.
In this petition, they led no evidence of the irregularity that they're complaining about the use of invalid votes, that there are absence of statutory documents which would render the results of elections invalid. Even assuming that those are tenable propositions, they did not lead an iota of evidence to establish these allegations that they keep parroting every day on television and every day on Facebook.
Mr. Nandlal also accused the opposition of misleading its supporters about the possible outcome of the petition. He said it was clear that the petitions had very little likelihood of success.
When they were filed, they had a big commotion in front of the High Court and announced to the whole world, including their supporters, that these are the petitions that will bring the PPP down, and that the PPP will be ousted from office by these petitions, and that they are promising that to their people. Within months, the PPP will be thrown out of office, knowing full well that neither of them had any reasonable prospects of success. Worse yet, they did not even serve one.
And the Attorney General said he does not believe any appeal of the ruling will get far and may only be further contributing to a division in the country. Let's tell you now that the Chief Executive Officer of Aaron's Royalty, Jason Aaron, was arrested this morning by investigators from the Criminal Investigations Department of the Police Force. Aaron's Royalty is the company that is at the center of the fuel import scandal at the state-owned Guyana oil company, Guyana. Crime Chief Wendell Blanham confirmed the arrest and told news source that Mr. Aaron has been held for questioning in relation to an offense under the Cybercrime Act. He would not offer details of the alleged offense committed and said he prefers to say nothing more on the issue until the completion of the investigations. News source understands that the investigation may be in relation to a number of recordings that Aaron made during his meetings with Guyana officials about the fuel import agreement. Some of the recordings were released after Guyana officially claimed that there was no agreement in place with him. Aaron has accused a number of Guyana officials, including a director of the company, of seeking a multi-million-dollar kickback over an agreement to supply the company with a shipment of heavy fuel. His accusations have since triggered a widespread probe at the company by a number of agencies, including the Guyana Energy Agency, the Guyana Revenue Authority, and the Auditor General's Office. Over the weekend, the Guyana Revenue Authority seized the fuel tanker that arrived in the country with a cargo of more than 1.1 million gallons of heavy fuel. The CEO was invited to meet with GRA investigators this morning, and it was while he was at the meeting he was taken into police custody for questioning about the alleged breach of the Cybercrime Act. The Aaron's royalty company is claiming that Guyana is now trying to backtrack out of the agreement between the two companies for an emergency supply of the heavy fuel, although the shipment is already here. While there was no written agreement or contract, the company claims that it has other pieces of evidence, including emails and audio recordings of meetings, which would confirm that the fuel was ordered by Guyana as an emergency order. The lone suspect in the gunning down of Charlestown youth Odinga Haywood was arrested over the weekend, and he is still in custody and will face charges soon. The wanted man, Lenroy Ford, was arrested by the police while he was being transported in a boat to the mining community of Devil Hole in the Cuyuna-Mazaruni region. A woman who was traveling with him was also arrested. She was placed in custody on suspicion of harboring a fugitive. 25-year-old Drysdale Street resident Odinga Haywood was shot dead last Wednesday night during an argument in his yard with a suspect, according to eyewitnesses. Persons in the area said the two men were known to each other and grew up together in the same area. They said during the argument several gunshots were heard and Haywood was seen collapsing on the roadway as the suspect ran away from the scene. A wanted bulletin was issued for his arrest the same night. While police investigators from the Civil Aviation Authority are probing a security incident at an Air Services aircraft at the Bartica airstrip this morning. The incident is being described as an unlawful interference and not an attempted hijacking. Just after 9 o'clock this morning, while the pilot of the Cessna aircraft was awaiting the arrival of his passengers at the airstrip, he was approached by three men who demanded that the plane takes them to wherever they want to go. The men were unarmed, according to reports, and left the scene after threatening the pilot. The pilot made contact with the police in the area, who responded promptly as the passengers eventually arrived for the flight to the city. One of the passengers was a senior government official. In a statement, Air Services Limited said it takes the incident very seriously. According to the company, a report was made to the Bartica police, who immediately responded in providing security for the aircraft and its occupants at the Bartica airstrip. The airline said there was no harm to anyone or an escalation of the incident, and the pilot, the passengers, and the aircraft returned to Georgetown safely from Bartica. Air Services said the matter is presently being investigated by its internal security and safety departments. Additionally, the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority was notified of the incident. Air Services also said all of its services are continuing and its operations remain safe and secure. Police in Bartica have indicated that the matter is under investigation and the search is on for the three men, all of Amerindian descent, who carried out the threat. 4 months after he was sent on 132 days of accumulative leave, the Director of Prisons, Gladwin Samuels, is not returning to the prison service as its head. Instead, he has been informed that he is being transferred to the Ministry of Home Affairs, where he will take up the post of Assistant Coordinator on People Smuggling. In a late-night statement over the weekend, Mr. Samuels said he was informed of the transfer decision when he wrote to the Ministry of Home Affairs on Friday to inform the minister of his resumption of duties, which was expected to be from today, since his accumulated leave ended yesterday. He explained that he was told that his position as Assistant Coordinator on People Smuggling will be on a full-time basis until further notice. The prison director was told by the Ministry of Home Affairs that he needs to report to the Minister of Home Affairs, Robeson Ben, to be apprised of the details pertaining to his duties in the new role. Samuels has hired the services of attorney Selwyn Peters and has asked that all questions and clarifications be directed to the attorney. Mr. Samuels was confirmed as Director of Prisons in March of last year, after acting in the position for 3 years, following the retirement of the previous head in 2017. The month of April has emerged as the deadliest month of the COVID-19 pandemic in Guyana, with 54 deaths recorded in the past 25 days. October of last year was the previous deadliest month, with 54 recorded deaths. In the past 3 days, a total of 10 deaths were recorded, pushing the total death toll to 287. The spread of the virus continues to spike in Guyana. More than 500 new cases were recorded over this past weekend. Every region has reported new cases in the past few days. Region 4 is still the epicenter of the virus spread, with more than 600 active cases. Region 4 Chairman Daniel C. Rem has issued a call on the government to toughen up on its COVID-19 response and enforcement of the guidelines. The regional chairman is also encouraging persons to take the COVID-19 vaccine. Across the region tonight, Caribbean Airlines is collaborating with the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, through its Regional Traveler Health Program to promote healthy, safer tourism as the region opens to tourism during the COVID-19 pandemic. In a statement, both CARPHA and Caribbean Airlines said they are committed to safe and responsible tourism to protect the health and well-being of both visitors and the local populations. Last week, a total of 179 employees of Caribbean Airlines underwent CARPHA's COVID-19 Essential Health Guidelines training for airlines. The staff members included flight attendants, customer experience officers, crew control officers, and others. The training is the first step in Caribbean Airlines acquiring the Caribbean Travelers Health Assurance Stamp for Healthier, Safer Tourism Award. The HST stamp is a measurable and verifiable recognition award for tourism entities that are implementing CARPHA's recommended proactive COVID-19 health monitoring and safety measures. Several Venezuelan migrants are feared dead after a vessel capsized last Thursday, plunging more than 25 of them into the high seas. The migrants were heading to Trinidad and Tobago. Up to Friday, Venezuela's National Guard had recovered 3 bodies, a man, a woman, and a child. 5 persons had been rescued by a commercial Venezuelan vessel that provided services in the area. The Venezuelan media reported that some persons managed to swim a long distance and had survived the tragedy. They were later rescued by Venezuelan ships that came to provide support in the search and rescue efforts. Based on statements from survivors, the report said occupants had left Venezuela in search of a better life in Trinidad and Tobago. They were expected to arrive in Trinidad over the weekend. And finally tonight, international news. The European Union has launched legal action against the coronavirus vaccine manufacturer AstraZeneca. The European Commission, the EU's executive branch, said it was suing the company for not respecting its vaccine supply contract and for not having a reliable plan to ensure timely deliveries. AstraZeneca said the move was without merit. It said it would strongly defend itself in court. The legal action marks an escalation in a long-running dispute between the two sides over the supply of coronavirus vaccines. The EU is struggling with the slow pace of its vaccine rollout. Some in the bloc have claimed that AstraZeneca has shown preferential treatment to the UK, but the company has denied that. Meanwhile, the US has announced that it will share 60 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine with other countries once it clears federal safety reviews. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and wishing you a safe evening.